Ron McCarty, the president of IJE. I'm supposed to meet with him at 10:15. I'm not going to make it until like 10:25. Would you go find him and tell him that I'm looking for him? So that was what it was all about. So it'd be like, Dan, I'm supposed to meet Jimmy Heath in 10 minutes. Would you go tell Jimmy that I can't meet with him this morning? How about like this afternoon at 1:00?
Wow.
So I was the gopher, and literally got introduced to everyone. I just walk up and say, hi, I'm Dan Knight. I'm a protege of Dr. Taylor's. And he's like, oh, I've heard about you. Yeah, man. Okay, cool. So I really got to know everybody. I got to meet all the old guys anyway. I got to meet Frank Foster. I got to meet Clark Terry, Al Gray, who was just a dear, sweet man, and Ray Mosca, just all the folks, just all the old dudes, and it was just glorious to kind of hang out with them, because they'd be hanging out kind of off the crowd, because the second they walked out in the hallway anywhere, they just kind of got, overwhelmed by folks wanting to talk to them.
Sure.
So I would just hang with these guys, and it was just a glorious time, because they were just dear, sweet people. Just dear, sweet people.
Well, let's do this. Let's talk a little bit about, Bucky and Ellis, since you met both of them. I mean, you met Ellis Marsalis, I'm sure, on different occasions. Yeah. And then I will ask you to play a little bit, and we'll just kind of go.
Cool.
And okay. And I'm sorry, I am Carolina challenged. You're in Chapel Hill. No.
I'm, really close. We're in Winston-Salem.
Winston-Salem. Okay. And that's North Carolina.
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's Debbie's travel territory. I haven't. Next time, and if we ever start traveling again, I will. I'll deadhead along with her sometime and come visit you guys while she's doing.
Oh, please come. Please come. We've got a space for you right now, man. We've got a spare bedroom in the back and a whole suite downstairs. So
wow.
So, yeah. So we've got 2 full baths and a half bath downstairs.
Oh, nice. Now, are you teaching students remotely? What are you?
I'm doing some teaching remotely, but mostly I'm working with the dance people at Wake Forest and the dance people at UNC School of the Arts. So I my favorite thing is to work with modern dancers. So I work with modern people, and I get to improvise doing that, which is just great fun. So one teacher in particular will come and say to me, he's like, Dan, I want to start really sparsely, and over 20 minutes, I want it to build to a frenetic kind of pace. So I get to improvise the whole thing and just kind of like make it all move, and she's completely open to what I want to do. So I can play anything out of free form that I want to, and it's just a gas. It's so much fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
So that's kind of what I do. And ballet's a little different, just because they've had to make some adjustments to me as I've had to make some adjustments to them, because I kind of went in with understanding with them that I wasn't going to play the same thing every day.
Oh. Yeah, that probably freaked them out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, what do you mean? It's like, well,
hey, stand by. Let's get this laid down, because I'm not recording yet.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. This is Dennis Green, and I am taking some of the time that I have available while we're out of the office and working remotely and stuff like that to check in not only on the Culture Crawl with various organizations and people, keeping the arts alive in our community during this weird time, but also checking in with different members of our music community. And because of the internet, doesn't have to be somebody who's actually living in our community right now, but somebody who's a member of our community, definitely, from his home in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's Dan Knight. Dan,
it's
nice to talk to you.
Oh, this is great. This really feels like I haven't left at all. It's like you're sitting here right in front of me, just the same way we've done this for years and years and years. So it's good to be here.
Well, and how long have you and Julie been in North Carolina? I'm sure the number of years is going to shock me.
Yeah, it's really shocking. It'll be 7 years this fall.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So we left. But our hearts really never left. Our hearts are still in Iowa. Our hearts are still with Iowans. So, but we left in 2013, and I went to UNC Charlotte. I had a 2-year appointment for at a space at UNC Charlotte. Went from that, and and it looked like that was going to be something that I would stay and do until I retired. But the board of governors cut the funding for my job line.
Oops.
So a week after I found out that the job funding was cut, there was a small job that opened at UNC School of the Arts, and so we figured out a way to make it work. So I went to UNC School of the Arts and then got a job at Wake Forest on top of that.
And
So
you have been one of
so
the things that you've been doing, and I know you were doing this at the University of Iowa before you moved away, is you're doing accompaniment for the dance program.
yes, yes. And they have they have one of the top 10 dance programs in the United States at the UNC School of the Arts, and they have a great dance program at Wake Forest University too. So I go and I improvise for them, which is just great fun. Great, great.
So,
They've had to
what
make
kind
a
of what?
couple of adjustments for me as I have for them, especially with the ballet people, because they're a little more used to classical music.
That never
And I would say,
changes.
yeah. So I said, well, I'll do my interpretation of something, but no, it's like I'm just kind of not interested in playing the same thing every day, exactly the same way. So 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 that's been good. That's been good. I've been doing some composition, doing lots of arranging, and I've had time for that now. I've got a lot of time for that now that I'm at home. So
Right. You're probably not doing much accompaniment for dancers right at this moment, unless
no.
Julie is doing pirouettes
Yes,
is
exactly.
around the living room.
Yeah, we're trying to train the dogs to do that. They're not quite into it yet. They can walk on their back legs, but pirouettes they haven't done yet. So, yeah,
Dan, of course, a leading jazz pianist from the Iowa City area for years and years and years, a Steinway artist, has performed all around the country. Montreux, you did the Montreux series for a couple of
yeah,
years. And I know
yeah.
in your travels, particularly as a protege of the great Billy Taylor, who was your teacher for a long time, you met nearly all of the important jazz luminaries. And before I started the tape, we were talking about Ellis Marsalis and Bucky Pizzarelli, who unfortunately we just lost on the same day, which is just a crushing blow to our community.
It's just staggering. It's just staggering. Yeah. Bucky Pizzarelli was an amazing guy. He was he was just exuberant. He loved the music and he loved his life and he loved what he was doing so much that it just kind of showed in everything that he did. I don't think I ever saw that guy or talked with him when he wasn't kind of almost glowing. It was first time I met him was at one of the Jazz Times conventions, and uh, he just always had this like happy group of people around him, and um, he was just an amazing guy, just full of information, full of knowledge, willing to share it all the time with anybody who would come up and say hello and ask. And Ellis Marsalis was the same way. I got to know Winton. Winton and I became like lifelong friends when I was the jazz pianist at the festival at Sandpoint that Gunther Schuller put together. And so it was an entire month in the Schweitzer ski basin in Sandpoint, Idaho. And for 3 weeks of that, Winton came and hung out. And the first night, we played a rehearsal. I played a big band rehearsal with him. I did a trio quartet rehearsal with him. And then we sat up and talked till like 5 o'clock in the morning. And it was just amazing. So we became really fast friends. And I didn't get to meet his dad until an IAJE convention. It was one of the last ones that was in New Orleans. And I was actually there for two reasons. I was there representing the Steinway folks on the jazz end of the whole thing. So I was there playing a couple of 2-3 concerts at the IAJE, and I was there as an accompanist for the jazz vocal group from Kirkwood Community College, who
Oh
was
yeah.
also performing. So, and it was great because we had one afternoon, and the way things set up, Ellis Marsalis played with his trio, and then I came and played after him. I did a solo gig, and then after my solo gig, the kids from Kirkwood came and sang with Bob Mintzer and a couple other like really kind of nice heavyweights who came and sat in. It was just a great concert, great afternoon. But I had the chance to kind of hang out with Ellis Marsalis for a long time, and he told me the coolest story. He said when I asked him about Wynton, and he said when Wynton was in high school, Wynton had a funk band, and Ellis at the time was teaching a little bit, driving a cab, doing everything he
Wow.
could do, going out and working on weekends.
Well, because he had like 6 kids, and
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had to do everything you could do, and he was trying to make it work as a musician. So he was going out and playing these gigs, and Wynton would come along with him, and he'd play for like 9-10 people, something like that, and come home and he'd make like $50. And Wynton would go out and play with his funk band and make $300-400 a night. So, and it was a big deal because he was feeling kind of hot about himself because he'd figured out how to circular breathe. So he could do that, and all the girls screamed, and everybody thought that was really cool. So Wynton, I guess, came up to his dad one time, and he said, Dad, he said, how much money did you make this weekend? He said, well, son, I played 2 gigs. I made like $100. And Wynton, I guess, said to his father, he said, well, gee, Dad, I made like $1,000 this weekend. I'm doing better than you. and Ellis looked at him and he said, well, yeah, son, but there's one big difference between you and me. And Wynton said, what is that? And Ellis told him, he said, I can play and you can't. So that was where the big challenge was. The big challenge was always for Wynton to meet the approval of his father, because his dad set such a high standard, and he said, because his dad told him, it's like, it didn't make any difference whether the score was already 300-0, and you were on the 0 end of the 300. And if you were on the bench and you got called, it was your time to hit the floor, you had to present your best game every time, even though it looked like you were going to get the brains kicked out of you. So that was his approach to his entire life. It's like, no matter what he was doing, no matter where he was, he brought his best game, even if there were only 5 people in the room. And God knows, man, all of us have been in that spot, So that was the kind of integrity that he brought to everything in his household. And you can see it in all of his children who became performers, because they all worked to achieve something that really is a higher calling. And that's that thing to which they aspire, and it's always ahead of them. So Wynton does that still, even now.
The things that Wynton and Branford in particular have said in tribute to their dad too over the last few days have just really shown the love and respect that he commanded from his family. And had it not been for Wynton and Branford and Delfeo, we wouldn't even have gotten to appreciate the genius of Ellis Marsalis. So it is.
Exactly.
It's a gift that we all have, and even though both him and Bucky had long, great productive lives and careers, it's still too soon. Gone too soon.
It's still too soon.
Talking with Dan Knight, the Iowa City area native, actually Ottumwa is where you grew up, right? Am I remembering that right?
Ottumwa originally,
Ottumwa, yep. And living out in Carolina now. And for those watching the video, they can see that Dan is leaned up against his piano. And I'm not going to let you escape without hearing a little bit of music. Now, you've been doing some kind of Facebook concerts.
I have been.
Almost on a daily basis, and I've really been enjoying those. But will you play a little something for our radio audience here too?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd be glad to. I was thinking about this. There's a piece that Oscar Peterson wrote right after he retired kind of just because he had a stroke, he couldn't use his left hand anymore, and he didn't think he was ever going to play again. So he went to the instrument, was doing a little bit. He had a friend of his who was a bass player who would show up like every day and say, Oscar, we want to play. So Oscar would play with his right hand, and his friend would come and play along with him. And one day his little daughter came up to him and said, Daddy, when are you going to do concerts again? And he said, well, maybe when summer comes. So he was inspired to write a song with that title. And so that's what I'm going to play for you today.
Okay.
When summer comes. So when summer comes, hopefully this will all be over. We'll be in a situation where we'll at least know what we're heading. But wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we're all together, all of us.
All right.
Even if we're separate.
Here's Dan Knight with Oscar Peterson's When Summer Comes. Well, the sound, you only get the sound of one hand clapping. but other people are clapping virtually, I'm sure.
Oh,
Dan,
bless you.
Dan Knight, it's just a pleasure to connect with you once again and hear that things are going well, if strange. And do keep in touch. And we've been talking a little bit about maybe getting you back in Iowa for a gig in the fall. And as plans firm up, we'll definitely be having more details on that because we'd sure like to get you back in Iowa for a weekend.
Oh, that would just break my heart. I would so love that. And Dennis, it's so good to see you. It's so good to see you and to be connected again, really, with KCCK. My heart is still there with you all the time, every day. And I could not love you guys more. I just couldn't. You keep on keeping on, keep doing this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful work that you're doing for all of us. You know, you keep the heart of the music alive every single day. And I cheer for you constantly. So, and please give all my love to everyone in KCCK land, Cedar Rapids, Iowa City, and the surrounding area. I'm with you always. So I'm as close as a piece of music can be. So watch me on Facebook, and we'll check it out here. And I can't wait to come back.
Best to you and Julie, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Oh, can't happen enough. Thank you so much.